Hello and welcome to Reporters, the programme that brings you some of the best stories from our correspondents around the world. Well, this week we take you to Georgia. It's been a year since a deadly conflict between Georgia and Russia. It started after Georgia tried to regain control of the breakaway province of South Ossetia. But it didn't work. Russia responded with force, sending tanks in and pushing Georgian troops out. Well, today, many in the region still live in fear of another war, and nowhere more so than along the boundary between South Ossetia and Georgia. People trapped between South Ossetian fighters backed by Russia on one side and Georgian security forces on the other. France 24, Cyril Vanier and Nicolas Ranson bring us this special report.
Deep in Georgian farmland, two European flags fly high. Observers head for the front line of a war that was put on pause 1 year ago.
We visit each checkpoint at least once a week.
Thierry is a French military policeman, one of 200 European observers here to make sure Russia and Georgia respect last year's ceasefire agreement. He does 5 patrols a week, and he's learned to take security seriously.
Danger? We try to avoid it.
You've had problems before?
Yeah, we've had problems, small problems. So we try to avoid the big ones.
This is where big problems sometimes happen, the boundary with South Ossetia. Georgian police shelter behind sandbags. 8 months ago, one of them was shot dead here by a sniper. All around, Ossetian fighters and Russian soldiers.
That's the Ossetian checkpoint right there. They're always standing there. And on the hill over there, the Russians have another checkpoint by the trees. You can see they're standing there right now. Sometimes they shoot in this direction, sometimes in the air.
Gunshots, troop movements. Thierry writes it all down. The observers are Brussels' eyes and ears in Georgia.
So I want information concerning the situation since 24 hours, since the last.
He will ask you the questions he usually asks. What was the situation regarding safety in the last 24 hours?
They were shooting from up there, where you see the pine trees, and from down there, from over here.
Observers and Georgian police alike can go no further than this. Ossetians won't let them.
What we do is we get in touch with the guards on the other side. We stop at the gate, we call them, they come, we have a chat. It's important for us to maintain some kind of link with the people of South Ossetia.
But you should be going in.
Yeah, they should let us in.
And do they?
Right now, no. They don't let us go there.
For the past year, observers haven't been able to step foot in South Ossetia. A blatant violation of the ceasefire agreement. But Moscow sets the rules here. 30 kilometers away in the highlands of central Georgia, life is back to normal in Gori, the biggest town near Ossetia and the one hardest hit by Russian shelling. Enemy tanks are long gone. The bomb damage is barely visible. Fading tank tracks are the only reminder of the war. In the main square, Joseph Stalin himself, born in Gori, seems to be soaking in the August sun. Yet, it was only 12 months ago that Russian jets bombarded Gori. The first bombs struck this block of flats, killing over a dozen people. The building was gutted. Since then, it's been rebuilt. Elena has just moved back in, quickly slipping into her old routine. On August 9, 2008, when the first bomb hit, she was walking up these stairs.
Oh my God. Oh my God. When the first bomb hit us, it was very loud. The whole building was shaking. Then I ran away. That's when the second bomb hit. The building went on fire. It was destroyed.
Elena is one of the few who stayed in Gori during the war. She was lucky to survive, but she says if she had to, she would do it again. At 86 years old, she figures she's got nowhere to run.
I want to die in my house. Why should I die somewhere else? I'm not going anywhere. Whatever happens, I'm staying here.
But not everyone was given that option. Brand new towns are mushrooming around Gori to house the 30,000 Georgians who fled South Ossetia during the war, abandoning their home and belongings. Row upon row upon row of houses, all identical, all built within 3 months of the war ending. Residents here cannot go back home. Gia is deputy mayor of this community, the same job he had in Ossetia.
Hi, how's it going? You know, like I said, we're building a school here for 1,200 kids. And in addition to that, a kindergarten, there are shops, there's an internet cafe, supermarkets, all kinds of new stuff. 9 months ago, there was absolutely nothing here. It was just an empty field. But now, you know, where there were empty fields before, where there were fields with crops, we've managed to build up this whole thing. And in addition to that, we've been resettling all these people.
2,000 doors, and behind each one, a family displaced by war.
Hello, come in. This is our new home. We used to live in the village nearby, and we've been living here for the last 8 months.
Lamara and her husband were given this 2-bedroom house, complete with water, gas, electricity, flat-screen TV, and food, all free, courtesy of the government. So it's difficult to complain.
It's mediocre. Well, we're pleased. We're not unhappy. This will do.
They used to live in neighboring Gori, a town now under Russian control. And they're luckier than many other displaced families because at least they've been able to recover some of their belongings.
We can go back quickly if we need something, but it's not safe to move back in. Plus, we need to take the kids to school, to the kindergarten, and those don't work anymore.
Commemoration Day across Georgia. In Gori's cathedral this morning, the Orthodox priest conducts a service in memory of the soldiers who died in battle. As the singing reverberates, believers cry not just for the dead, but for the country itself. One gets the feeling that last year's war has given Georgians a renewed sense of unity against the perceived oppressor. Maria has lived through both Ossetian wars.
They almost killed my son, a great patriot of Georgia. He's disabled now. Georgia used to be way bigger, and look what's left of us now.
A few kilometers away, the army is training in house-to-house combat. 15 Georgian soldiers, sweating heavily, are about to storm this derelict Soviet base. But it's hardly a convincing show of force. This is one drill the platoon had better get right quickly. Last year, the Georgian army was routed. These men were being trained by Americans in Iraq at the time, but if war breaks out again in Georgia, they will be on the front line. With nothing but their skills and their Russian Kalashnikovs.
We work on this every day. We're getting better and better at clearing a building. It's one of the most complicated forms of fighting.
Are they afraid of Russian firepower? They won't say it in so many words.
Everyone's afraid of something. The main thing is how you fight your fear, and I'm sure that everybody will be able to conquer their fears.
They are strong, but we are stronger. Okay?
For now, though, the army stays put in Gori, and it's the police that patrols the tension points near the boundary with South Ossetia. Residents here live in constant fear. The war began just 1 kilometer away.
We're very scared of Russia. Very scared. Whenever we watch TV and listen to all of their threats, we begin to worry. The Russians say they haven't finished the war yet. That's what we're hearing.
Marina lives here with her husband and 3 children. For her, the conflict is far from over. At night, there is frequent gunfire, and the fields around the village are not safe.
Whenever we hear the sound of shooting, the entire village comes outside and we start asking each other what happened. Maybe somebody knows something and we're all really worried. If you see this happen, you'd be very surprised. Everybody's outside. We ask each other, are they planning something again? Of course we're afraid. We're very scared.
Marina does not believe the police can protect her family. Russian troops and Ossetian forces are concentrated in the nearby town of Schinvali.
The best you can hope for here is to stay warm, have some clothes on your back, have some food and survive. Because Schinvali is 1 kilometer from here, so you're always expecting that violence could break out.
It's harvest time in Georgia. The wheat will be sold for food and fuel to heat the homes in winter. For centuries, Georgians have worked this land. Vasily, the owner of the field, sweats under the midday sun. He's a tough old man. At 72, he's survived 2 wars with South Ossetia. But mention last year's harvest, and he breaks down in tears.
It was August the 7th when the war began, and we hadn't even had a chance to collect the harvest yet. Everybody needed to get their crops in when the bombing started. The Russian tanks are driving all across here, across my fields. They told me not to cry, but what can you do?
Vasily lost 2/3 of his income during the war. He can't afford to have another bad year. If the crop doesn't sell, he doesn't eat.
Well, what can you say? It's okay. It's not dirty. It's average, I guess. It's average.
Under Soviet times, Vasily ran a collective farm. He used to get bonuses for hard work, and above all, he had peace.
We had peace back then. People weren't afraid. Now, when you're working, you're scared the Ossetians might run by and shoot you. Those big villages over there, they're destroyed. Wasn't Soviet peace better than this? Now we have freedom, but we're free with empty pockets.
Vasily hopes the weather will be good this autumn and wonders what lies in store for Georgia and for his crops. He says only God and the president have the answer, and he just prays it's not more fighting.
Well, joining me in the studio now is one of the reporters behind that story, Cyril Vanier. Cyril, we saw in that report people there living on this boundary, but what's troop morale like in terms of the Georgian forces?
Well, it's as good as you can expect it to be 1 year after the Georgian army got a drubbing at the hands of the Russian troops. The military base in Gori that was entirely destroyed has now been rebuilt. They have some new equipment, personnel carriers that we saw in the report, but they're still woefully understaffed, if I may put it that way, for an army. They don't have enough soldiers to fight against the Russian army. It just can't be done. So they're no match, and the population is under no illusion. They know that if a conflict starts, they're looking first and foremost to the international community for help in defending Georgia, and not to their own national army.
So in terms of South Ossetia, I mean, is this it for Georgia? Has it lost South Ossetia once and for all?
Well, that's certainly what it looks like on the ground, because although the independence of South Ossetia has only been recognized by two countries, Russia and Nicaragua, and that means that the vast majority of the international community still sees officially South Ossetia as a part of Georgia, when you're on the ground, the province of Ossetia behaves like an independent country. I mean, they speak Russian there, not Georgian. Most residents have a Russian passport. If you want to go in, you need to ask for authorization from the Russian embassy. Russian guards are controlling the boundary, and you simply can't go in when you're Georgian. So to all intents and purposes, it's an independent country, and it's very difficult to see how Georgia could possibly reclaim South Ossetia unless they decided to launch a military offensive. And for the moment, well, Georgian President Mikhail Saakashvili has ruled that out.
Well, just very briefly, there is a real sense amongst Georgians or people who live in that boundary, a real sense that perhaps this could happen again, a conflict could happen again.
Well, the ones who live on the boundary still see some sporadic fighting going on. They see cross-boundary raids occurring. They hear shots at night. So as far as they're concerned, the conflict isn't quite over. And this is really the flashpoint for violence. This is where it could happen if a conflict were to start again. And they're on that front line. So, of course, they're the ones who are most worried that a new conflict might start.
Cyril Vanier, thank you very much indeed for that special report looking at the Russia-Georgia situation 1 year on. Well, that's all we have time for this week on Reporters, but join us next time for another Reporters. Bye for now.